Welcome to another episode of Hey, I'm Just a Fan, and I'm glad y'all back with me, man. Episode 6, I believe. Let's get straight into it. The BET Awards just happened this weekend, and a lot of different things happened. We had, Donald Glover kind of have his moment when he talked about how, he's nominated for more Grammys than Will Smith. But at the BET Awards, he has less awards than Sam Smith, who is a white guy. Now, don't get me wrong, Sam Smith is a dope artist, but so is Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. And I think that's probably some of the issues that people kind of have with the BET Awards, that a lot of times they don't recognize the people that they're supposed to at the right time. Now, I would say that also goes with most award shows. A lot of times people get their awards late. Sometimes, these award shows try to make up for lost time or like not putting an artist on like that. So they'll give them 2 extra ones when it's 3 years later or something like that. But I do feel, since it is the BET Award, we usually try to hold our people at a higher standard. But is this even owned by our people? Let's be honest. I'm positive BET is not owned by us anymore. It's always a little shaky to me when a establishment has a black face, but there's like a white hand controlling things in the background. There's multiple other media outlets just like that. But at one point in time, BET was owned by us, and then it was sold. But when it's not owned by us anymore, now you kind of have to question some of the things that are at hand. I saw some people try to say, Childish Gambino doesn't make music for black people. I'm like, have you not heard Awaken My Love? Shoot, all of his albums, if you want to be honest, just because you might not resonate on every single level, there's black people that have been just like how Donald Glover is their whole lives. The black nerds, blurs, the weebs, that whole community was huge fans early on of Childish Gambino because they related to him. And sometimes people try to dismiss what you do when you're not married or with a black person. So I saw some people being like, well, we don't really rock with him like that because he don't like black girls like that. I don't think it's that he doesn't like black girls. I think that he was liking who liked him, if you want to be honest. Now, I am somebody who is pro-black love. Shit, I'm not even mad at Dr. Umar for some of his takes about it. But when it's genuine love between two people, I'm not really tripping. My issue always comes into play when you are trying to downplay black men or black women for your reason for dating outside your race. If that was actually the case, then I would have a huge problem. I'll pop in like the Dr. Umar meme with the Undertaker music, the dong, Then I would feel some way. But other than that, I don't really try to focus on people's love relationships like that too much, man. I got my own shit going on. I'm trying to focus on my own marriage and making sure that's good. But some people were in the defense of Sam Smith because the BET Awards that he won, they were like, hey, he kind of was killing at that time. And he was dropping some fire music. I can't even hate on Sam Smith. He had some dope music. I can't sit there and say that I was listening to his whole albums. But when the music came out and I heard songs, I was like, I get it, man. He's nice. He was part of that whole movement. What did they call it? The blue-eyed soul movement or blue-eyed R&B bullshit they were trying to push on us a while back. Can you believe that shit? They tried to gentrify R&B with the blue-eyed soul stuff. They put Justin Timberlake in there. They had Sam Smith in there. They had Adele in there. And here's the thing. Those artists are actually dope. Like, I have Justin Timberlake's first, 4 albums. And shoot, he's probably got about 2 classics in there. Possibly 3 to some people. But don't ever in your life try to make white people the face of R&B, hip-hop, any of that. Like, Eminem was dope. But Eminem always respected the black side of hip hop. Like, hey, man, essentially, I love hip hop because these people made me love it. Like, without them, there's no hip hop. I don't think Eminem wants to be the face of actual hip hop. Now, he probably wants to be respected as a top tier lyricist because, technically he is. But if somebody was creating, what hip hop in the face of it was, and they put Eminem in the forefront, yeah, I would have a problem with that. And I would think that Eminem might be like, you might need to put some other people around me here and not put me in the middle. I feel like he's fairly aware of some of that stuff. But yeah, stop trying to whitewash the things that we created. And sometimes you can tell when white people are kind of behind or at the head of black media sources. Because some BS usually falls through the cracks. Like, some people were pretty upset that there were a lot of kind of artists that were just like kind of like sexualizing like hip hop and music and stuff like that. And it was like there wasn't a good balance. And I think that's kind of the issue with hip hop right now. Like back when I grew up in the 90s, like, and even like the early 2000s, there was a balance of like conscious hip hop and gangster rap, and different other sides of hip hop like that. But there's a lot of white people that kind of had these labels, and they're mainly pushing murder, 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 alcohol, drugs, all type of stuff. You don't ever see conscious music get pushed to the forefront. Like I feel like J. Cole and Kendrick, they kind of made their mark and created this core cult-like fan base. So they kind of have that. Right now, I mean, you really don't have any of that. I think that's why some people have an issue with a lot of the sexualization of like female hip hop right now. Like a lot of people on Sexyy Red's head, and it's just like you got Sexyy Red, you got Ice Spice, you got Meg Thee Stallion, you have Cardi B, you have Sukihana, you have a bunch of different artists, right? And I have no issue with them pushing some of the sexual stuff, right? Because that's kind of always been the thing in hip hop. We had Lil' Kim, we had Foxy Brown, but then you always kind of had other MCs and rappers in there. You had Lauryn Hill, you had Missy Elliott, you had Da Brat. Like they had different type of content. Even if they pushed a little bit of sex in there, their whole album and every song wasn't about that. And that's what I think we need right now. I think there needs to be some type of balance in the women in hip hop right now, because I have no issue with them staying here. Because I like I said, I Meg Thee Stallion come on, I'd be like, all right, it's cool with me. Some of the Sexyy Red stuff be kind of funny to me. I'd be laughing like she wild for this, but like Rap City, who is probably one of the dopest MCs, man or woman, needs to be pushed a lot more. And if you want to be real, once again, this is probably gonna be unpopular. Ladies, this kind of falls on y'all. This is kind of like the WNBA. A lot of people that go to the WNBA and support the WNBA are men. A lot of people that support Rap City, men. She's even said it herself. Her core main fan base, her biggest supporters are men. They're the ones that champion her. They're the ones that always try to push her in the top MC conversation with men. Not even saying like, oh, just women. They like, yo, she's one of the top MCs, period. But usually women can kind of make things go on their own. Like when it comes to Sexyy Red and a lot of these other artists, Meg Thee Stallion, women are hugely in support of them, which is why their singles and stuff like that do as well as they do. Because a lot of men are sitting there bumping a whole bunch of those type of artists like that. But when it comes to Rap City, why not? Y'all can't always be in sex mode. I know you can't. Now I understand from a standpoint when you go into a club, that's what you put on. I 100% get that. When I was going to the club, it was like the crunk era time. And when we would put on a lot of crunk music, we would put on a lot of just like hard, just like club music. But in my everyday space, that's not what I was listening to all the time. So just like in every single thing, in every sport, in every form of entertainment, at work, every space, you need balance. And I think that's what hip hop needs right now. Even with men too, a lot of stuff that's being pushed on a dude. That's why I'm glad that there is the streaming services when it comes to music, because if I was listening to the radio right now, I'd probably be like, man, y'all pushing the same stuff over and over and over and over. And I don't mind that when I want to turn up, or if I'm in the gym, I need to push out another set. I'm probably not listening to conscious music when I'm like trying to get into the gym and get into that grimy, angry, heavy lifting mode. Most likely listening to something that's like aggressive and turning up. So that's what I'm saying. That space is needed, but so is these other spaces of music. So there needs to be a balance. And right now it's unbalanced with men and women, if you want to be honest. But some other stuff happened at the BET Awards. People are trying to push Taraji P. Henson versus Keith Lee. And those two aside, a lot of the videos that I saw supporting either one, y'all need help, man. I saw a lot of posts trying to tear Keith Lee down, talking about, oh, see, his ego done got to his head. He not even a celebrity. Who is he to think that he's even compared to Taraji? I'm like, first of all, the definition of celebrity is famous person. Like that's the literal definition of celebrity. And last time that I checked, Keith Lee's pretty damn famous. Like when he walks outside, people recognize him. Now, for somebody who's been around award shows, who's been to award shows, who knows people that have written on award shows and been on the production side of that thing, award shows are extremely stressful. Things are getting tightened to like the last hour, the last minute, sometimes even like the last second and during the award show. So when I saw that Taraji kind of made a mistake and mixed up two different influencers, Keith Lee and Jonathan the Stallion, who's like really big on TikTok for doing food stuff and kind of like exposing kind of like food secrets, which shout out to him because he's like, I use a lot of his secrets to get some free stuff. It came out that somebody switched Keith Lee and his wife's seats. And people were trying to say in the comment section, like, see, that's his fucking fault. Like, he was the one that was in the wrong seat. That's why Taraji messed it all up. And it's just like, bro, he said he was put in the wrong seat. And it seems like Taraji didn't know who he was as, like, from a visual standpoint, personally. So she just going off what she rehearsed. They told her this where these two people were supposed to be sitting at. And she went strictly off that, and she messed it up. As a pro, she eventually caught herself, made like a little flirting joke, and got out of there. Now, people try to make something out of that, too. They were like, well, look at Keith Lee's wife's face. It's just like, I mean, one, she might have been caught off guard by the joke. That's fair for her to make that face. Second of all, it was like for like a split second, and then she went to like laughing about it with her husband. Like, y'all are trying to dissect things so deeply because, in all honesty, y'all just bored as shit. Like, it must have been like a slow news day or something like that. So during that segment, what Taraji was doing was actually giving roses to people, right? She was giving out roses to different celebrities, to like, you know, essentially like giving people their flowers. So at the end of the night, Keith Lee, like, he took a picture or something like that, and it was like him, like, either like throwing a rose or throwing a rose on the ground or something like that, saying like, you know, this is not meant for me or whatever the case may be. This is like for somebody else. And a lot of people took it as like, oh, he's mad because she got his name wrong and mixed it up and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, bro, y'all were waiting for something on this man. Like, y'all were waiting for the day he did something negative so y'all can turn against him. Like, this is the classic rise of somebody and people support them. And when they start to get too hot, people be like, you know what? I don't like how he acting right now. He too famous. Y'all put him there. Y'all were watching the videos. Y'all were saying how much y'all love this person. And the amount of videos that are coming out saying they don't like this man. They're saying he's cocky now. He's arrogant. Saying this whole time he's been phony. Like, y'all are tripping. Y'all were tripping so much that the man had to make a video and was like, look, that wasn't about Taraji. That wasn't about the mix-up about what happened, and I have no issue with her, like nothing but love for her. Like, I feel like y'all don't understand. Like, y'all don't have to tear somebody down because you like another person, even if you like that other person a little bit more. The people that love Taraji or think that Taraji is a bigger star than him, you don't have to tear down Keith Lee because either you didn't understand it because he didn't go off what you thought that how he should have reacted. And the same with Keith Lee fans. Y'all don't have to go off on Taraji and shit on her and her career or whatever the case may be either because y'all didn't like the way how things might have got mixed up. People out here trying to say now, oh, look, he's getting too famous. He's too big for himself. His head is too big. Let me try to offer y'all probably a different perspective on how it might have went for the Rose thing when he threw it on the floor, right? Keith Lee is very new at this. He's probably about 2 to 3 years in, 4 max, when it comes to being an influencer and being famous. He always says that God used me as a vessel to pretty much like do certain things and to help people. And he always says, what's mine is mine, which is something that I actually live by. Like, what's mine is mine. It's like, you can't take whatever's for me. God already has that in place for me. So Keith Lee does a lot of good for the communities. He gives people money. He goes to some of these smaller businesses and food places and makes sure he gives them like $1,000, $2,000 tip sometimes. He's shouting them out and their businesses have changed. Their lives have changed. But like I said, he's only a few years in doing this. Giving him his flowers right now, this early on in his life and his career, for a man that's not even 30 years old yet, he's probably like, hey man, like, I got a lot more to do before you start giving me these flowers. Because he said, I forgot the exact headline, but he was saying too, like, somebody else probably deserved this. This is somebody else's rose. And how I took it was somebody else probably was there that put in way more work than him, way more time at the craft, who's probably even a bigger star than he is. They probably could have got that rose and they didn't get one. When I first saw that post, that's immediately what I thought of. I didn't think of him being like, oh man, they messed my name up. See, this is why I don't come to these establishments. I didn't think that at all. I immediately thought about how he feels like he has a lot more work to do and he probably feel like he doesn't deserve it yet. And that's just going off his demeanor. Like, he's always shown you how humble he is. And that's the reason why people love Keith Lee, is because of how humble he is, how humble he comes across. When people meet him, they don't get an arrogant air about him. The reason why he's so famous and the reason why we all love Keith Lee and we rock with him over a lot of other food critics, or he's more famous than a lot of other food critics, is because we feel like he comes from a regular person's place. Like he's just like, he's us. We feel connected to him because he's most like us than a lot of other creators that do it. And y'all were on his side with that. Y'all were like, see, this is why we love him. He's just this humble, great, down-to-earth, regular guy. And now he was faking it? now was all a lie. Bro, come on. And the few people that I know that have met Keith Lee have all said the same thing. He is the most chill, relaxed, regular dude. You don't get famous energy from him. You get genuine, just down-to-earth guy. And here's why sometimes we got to slow down and just let things kind of like sit for a little bit and then respond, because Taraji responded, and she responded saying pretty much like people's egos were hurt, and that's on them, and I made a mistake, blah 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 blah. And it's just like her team should have been like, yo, let's chill for a second. Or in all honesty, I'm sure they probably could have even contacted and seen what was really going on, because now when Keith Lee releases the video, like things just sound weird on different ends. Like it looks like there's like tension. And it's just like, yo, that's not how it has to be. And also a lot of Keith Lee fans were like, yo, Taraji should know who Keith Lee is. Like he's this. It's like, bro, do you understand? Like I'm not sure Taraji's actual age, but I think she's over 40 years old and looks amazing, by the way, at that age. Like she looks incredible. Taraji probably don't even run her own social media that much. Like she might be on there a little bit, but she might have a team, an assistant, a PR team that might run her stuff or put stuff out there or tell her what to post. I don't see her having to know Keith Lee, because, I know we like to think like if you black and you kind of big, we kind of know you, but that's not always the case. So I can see on Taraji's end being like, well, the reason why the mix up, like I didn't know who was who. They just told me to do this here. I didn't know. There's influencers out there that a lot of us don't know, and they have 50 million, they have 100 million followers across platforms, and they can walk right by you. You have no clue who the hell they are. So for me personally, I can't even fault Taraji for that, but also don't fault Keith Lee on his end. I think it was a genuine, honest mistake, and I think just like people do when it's a slow news week, when people need something to talk about, they start to try to go extra and have to shit on one side. There's rarely ever perspective. There's rarely ever saying like, hey, let's look at it from both sides of this real quick. Let's see how things probably could have gotten mixed up. I'm always trying to see both sides and then put that together and then come up with the conclusion and seeing like, all right, what is the real thing here, instead of being way on one side. But the internet, Twitter especially, that's not that's not how it's going to happen. And in all honesty, I think some of y'all just making shit to go viral. Like y'all understand, you go with this super hot take right here, it can go viral and get you views and probably even get you a little bit of money off TikTok or put your followers up. So now you can be in some of these creator funds to get paid. And that's the shitty part about how news is even going right now. People don't really care about the truth. They just care about what's popular, if they can make something go viral. Hell, there's been times I've done it in the past. I try my best not to do it as much now, but it's like, come on, man. At some point, we got to start to like understand that there's people's lives kind of in this and at stake. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily from a life or death standpoint, but sometimes it's career breaking with some of the stuff that y'all say about these people. And speaking of Keith Lee, a guy that does kind of like content on TikTok, I think he does like pranks, and he'll purposely go up to celebrities and mix them up and call them different names. He walked up to Keith Lee when he was like coming downstairs. I don't know if he was just coming out of the award show or he was just coming from something, but he was clearly dressed from the BET Awards still.
Oh my God, I knew that was you, bro. DDG, bro. DDG, bro. DDG, bro. DDG, bro. DDG.
And he was like, oh, yo, DDG, man. What up, DDG? And Keith Lee wasn't having it. He was just like, hey, bro, don't play with me like that. Don't play no games with me like that. And if I'm being honest, Keith Lee and DDG, there's similarities in the look. There's similarities there. But I think Keith Lee, too, since he does have social anxiety and he is new to this fame stuff, I think people have to understand and give some type of grace. Like, a lot of this stuff is new. Specifically for him, when people start to come up to you and immediately put a camera in your face, and that's not even your style. Like, that's not his style. His style is being in front of the camera at home or in his car eating food. He's not used to, like, paparazzi running up on him like that, or random people just coming up to him and putting a camera in his face and starting to ask him questions immediately, or even disrespecting him. Because that's what that was. At the end of the day, dude was trying to be funny with the prank, but it's disrespectful. And that's the thing about a lot of these kind of prank like videos and prank YouTube channels and stuff like that. You're running the risk of people reacting this way or even possibly whooping your ass. Like, I think a YouTube prankster got shot one time, or at least shot at, and it's just like, people aren't playing with you all the time, bro. And somebody like Keith Lee, who has a legit fighting background, like he fought mixed martial arts and he's pretty damn good, and will probably beat the average person's shit. He'll probably beat the above average person's ass, if you want to be honest, because he actually has training and skills. And if you watch some of his stuff, he got a dog in him, bro. Like, he ain't timid. He gets after it. He gets active. When you run up that aggressively and you start to kind of come with that disrespect, I get it. He was like, come on, don't play with me, bro. Don't play with me like that. And people started to use that tape right there, too, and try to combine it with the BET thing with Taraji, being like, see, he getting cocky. Do you understand that, like I said, this shit is new? I'm nowhere near as famous as a Keith Lee. Right? I am a stand-up comedian. Some of my social platforms have kind of accumulated a solid amount of followers. And I'm from Los Angeles. Like, I'm raised here. I went to school here. I went to school with a couple of celebrities here and there. And people walk up to me, and usually my first defense is like, nigga, who you? That's kind of my energy. I don't say that, but my face is like, what's up, bruh? And they're like, oh, what's up, man? I saw you on this video. I'm like, oh, what's up, man? Hey, how you doing? And there's been multiple times that I was out with my wife, and she's been like, I understand you kind of have to keep your guard up because people could try you, but you also have to be aware that you are kind of starting to rise in the light a little bit, and people sometimes are just coming to either shake your hand, get a picture with you, just to say hi because they've seen you on something. And that's at my level. I understand that my star power is going to rise, but like, he is there. And he also seemed like he don't go to a lot of events unless he's called to go to these events. So for him being outside in a place that he's not from, that he's probably not that fully aware with, when somebody running up on you, it's like, hey, dog, like, I'll fire on you, bro. Like, don't just run up on me like that. And don't just run up on me with disrespect, especially if he's on the way somewhere. So y'all just got to understand, give people grace, man. Like, what happened to that? What happened to giving people grace and time? And even if they did make a mistake, giving them that space to have, like, all right, he made a mistake, she made a mistake, and it's cool. We could tell, like, they might have had a moment, they might have been stressed out, and then we move on. Y'all pass judgment way too quickly, not realizing that if somebody was on you like that, you would probably snap too. So I don't know what y'all talking about, man, but I know I still support Keith Lee, and I'm going to continue to support this brother and his journey and the things that he's doing for the community, supporting him and his family and the work that they're doing. Also, shout out to Taraji too, supporting her also. I've been a fan of Taraji for a very long time now, and I hope to see her star power to keep rising and keep rising on top too. So let people make mistakes, man. It's okay. We don't have to immediately go out and judge because we're living in a social media era and we got to immediately feel like we got to put our viewpoint out there. A lot of people's opinions ain't important. Shit, to some people, my opinion ain't important. That's what this podcast is about, bro. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan of all this stuff, and some stuff I'm not a fan of. Now, the next thing we got to talk about is your boy Rick Ross. Rick Ross was up in Canada getting him and his people getting into an altercation up there. What you got to understand is, now, if you watch the video, I think Rick Ross might have got swung at maybe a few times, but eventually they kind of was like either getting him kind of like protected, but his bodyguard kind of got the hands put on him, and I think also his DJ got hit too, and it's just like, I didn't want it to come to this. Like, as a fan of hip hop and growing up in the 2000s and seeing how things got to crazy places, people getting shot at and stuff like that, I didn't want this beef between Drake, Rick Ross, and Kendrick to really spill into the street. And it seems like now we might be here with some of the artists. Because when you watch that video, damage was done, bro. Like, it wasn't like, all right, it was a little scuffle, people got pushed around a little bit. Nah. Rick Ross, I think at the end of his performance or where he was at, was playing Not Like Us, and some people there didn't take too kindly of it. Now, we don't know if these were actually Drake's goons or people or anything like that. And people that were there looked like they were kind of connected maybe to the Hells Angels up there. And that wouldn't necessarily even been a problem, right? People could have just made those assumptions and those alleged, assumptions or whatever the case may be. But the problem was that Drake ended up liking the video. Like, he's in the comment section or at the post, and then he liked it. And that's where things now can take a dangerous turn. Because even if you didn't have anything to do with it, you doing that now puts fuel on the fire. Now, first things first, for any of the rappers that had an issue with Drake or has an issue with Drake or that spoke ill of him, specifically rappers, right? If you're going to go to Canada, in all honesty, you should not be moving light out there. Like, it looked like Rick Ross only had one true bodyguard out there. And it's just like, bro, I think it might have been actually like maybe on the other side of Canada, maybe in Vancouver or something like that. How I would take it if I was a rapper that was beefing with Drake, Canada's his. That's how I would look at it. And if you're a rapper going up to that particular place, you should be very, very careful. You should have as many people as you can get there for protection. You can't be moving light in people's states, cities, anything like that. Rick Ross is too famous, too big of a rapper, and I feel like he should be street smart enough to be like, hey, when we go up here, we got to have certain type of people with a certain type of pedigree on my side, because if something goes down, I need y'all to get active. Because regardless of how soft you think Drake is, I do not see Drake coming to Los Angeles or coming to Miami now after this incident happened and coming there light, like coming there with 2 to 3 people and like he gonna just walk around the city and everything's cool. I just don't see that happening. I feel like he'll be smart enough to be like, hey man, at the end of the day, I don't trust nobody no more, right? So when I go to these particular cities, even places like Atlanta, and I know you got love and ties in Houston, going there with the right amount of people and certain type of people in that city that he knows that will protect him, that's who you need to be rolling with. So many rappers have gotten hurt, have gotten killed in the past few years. Some people ain't playing right now. And on top of that, even if the rapper has nothing to do with it, some people want to make a name off you. If they can get a lick off you doing something, whether they snatching your chain, beating you up, knocking you out, even shooting you or shooting at you, whatever the case may be, some of them just do it off the strength of like trying to get their name up and they rep up. So for these rappers, if you get this type of energy out there where you kind of like, especially after this beef kind of went down and it's still kind of hot right now, maneuver the correct way, man. Have people around you, because even if somebody ain't sending certain people at you, you don't know who's trying to make a name on you. But now, even for Drake, I just feel like in the post, it seems like it could possibly have some bad repercussions for you trying to even come to Florida. And at the end of the day, Miami is kind of like LA a little bit. It's like it's a hot spot. It's where people come to vacation. It's where people will come to kick it at. It's a lot of, music studios out there. A lot of people make music out there. They go there to get the vibe of the music and the club scene. Like that's one of the biggest club scenes in the country. And it seems like Drake kind of frequents with Atlanta and Miami pretty frequently. So, man, I'm all for the love of the battle and bars and rap and stuff like that, but I don't want it to turn violent against anybody. Let's kind of move on to a little bit of a lighter note. Matthew Stafford's wife. That's right, Matthew Stafford's wife was out here on a podcast, or it might have been her podcast, talking about how she was sleeping around with the backup quarterback when Matthew Stafford was in college. Why would you tell this story? Like, what is the point of telling this now? Like, he has a season to play, all right? He has a few more years on his contract. Tell this story when his career is over. It's said and done. He's retired. He ain't got to worry about this, because now, players going to use this as fuel. If I'm a linebacker, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking cash trash. Yeah, your wife was out here giving that ass up, that cooch, to the backup at that. Oh. My thing is, what is the point of telling this story, huh? Like right now, at this particular point of his time in his career, as the wife, what is the point of saying this? Like, the only person that kind of benefits from this is the backup quarterback. Like, he gonna be like, see, I told you I was smashing his wife in college. Y'all didn't believe me, huh? Yeah. It was kind of fire too. She had that hot tub also. Now, I think the waters in this was a little bit muddy, because she's talking about how, like, when they were dating and stuff like that in college, and it was kind of insinuated that, Matt might have been a nice guy, but essentially he was out here. At the end of the day, he's a star quarterback. And if you know about college, things are gonna go down when you kind of the star. And if you don't believe me, just watch a good old movie called He Got Game. In that particular scene, they were just trying to recruit him to the school. That's it. He wasn't even there yet, and they were giving him the works, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, these white girls were out there smashing, giving him like, ooh, Jesus Shuttlesworth, all right. So if you the top quarterback and you one of the best in the nation and they know you about to get drafted, like, girls are probably going wild on that man. And her energy in the interview, she's talking about it. She's like on some like, yo, at the end of the day, shit had to happen, baby. I had to sleep with the backup quarterback to get us where we are now. That was her energy. She essentially said that in other words, in a sense. And after this happened, I know for a fact that reality shows are calling her, because she's giving out, quote unquote, the tea, right? They come for her like, yo, We could build a show around you now. We could probably build a show around you and Matthew after he retires, or like, during his kind of like his, essentially, I think it's the twilight years of his career, and be like, all right, we can kind of put you in there and make you kind of the star. Because in watching the video, she has personality. Like, she's funny. Like, you can tell, like, she is one of those girls that she can probably lead that type of show. But she also used a word that I think is kind of like mixed up nowadays. That's kind of like a little blurry. She was saying how her and Matthew were dating, and essentially she dated the backup quarterback also. And I'm going to be honest with you. What women say is dating and what men say is dating, the definition is not the same. It's very, very blurry between the two. If I'm guessing, that was probably Matt's main chick, but he was out here in these streets. Meaning he was smashing her, and he probably was like, yo, you my little chick, you my little thing, but like, you ain't wifey yet. So she probably out here like, all right, cool. I'll smash the backup quarterback. If I want to be honest now, if you smash the backup quarterback, he's a backup. Like, he wasn't getting no clock. And eventually, I think he didn't end up getting no PT at all. Who else was she smashing on the team? I think she was smashing some other players on the team. I don't know who, but I think eventually it might come out that, yeah, she might have got a receiver some cheeks. She might have let some of them old linemen hit. I don't know. Here's the issue, though. A lot of times, when a white guy has a white girl, they don't like when those white girls that they married have had sex with black men. So I wonder what he feel away if some of his dogs back in the day that were black were like giving her the business. Because I've heard the rumblings kind of in the white community where it's just like, yo, if a white girl has messed with or slept with a black man, she's essentially damaged goods. So white community, I want y'all to tell me something. Is it true that if a white girl, specifically the white women, if they've had intercourse, right, sexual relations with a black guy or multiple black men, is she essentially damaged goods in the white community when it comes to marrying them and having a family? Or is she done for? Is it like, yo, she messed with this many black guys? Nah, you can't marry her, bro. Find another girl. I want to know from y'all, is that the truth in the white community? Because that's what I've heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I can see that being true. Like, man, like she's marked in their case. But let me get back to what I was saying about the dating and the word dating and stuff like that. Women look at dating differently than men look at dating. Like, women might actually have the definition of dating correct, right? For two people, we go out on some dates, and that's considered dating. And that can mean intercourse, or it can mean, we went out and you spent money on me on dates. So that's dating. I think for guys, we got to keep our terms a little bit more sacred. Like, we won't say we're dating you just because we went out with you one time. Like, for me personally, if I went out with you only once, maybe even twice, I'll say, like, we were just talking. That's how I would personally define that. If we end up smashing, I'll say, like, yeah, we were smashing. Or if I'm out with people and somebody asks me, I'm not going to try to, like, throw you under the bus about sex. So I'm going to say, oh, no, we was kicking it. We used to kick it. That's like, yeah, we kicked it back in the day. Because at the end of the day, I know when it comes to, like, that type of talk, the guy looks cool on one end and the girl can look like a whore on the other end. So I don't want to purposely make you look like that. So I'll say something like, oh, we were just kicking it. If we were just smashing. Now, when I say I dated somebody, what that means to me personally is we were probably right before making it exclusive. That means we went on multiple dates. You've been to the crib. We've got it in a few times, like multiple times. And I told my friends about you, meaning like, hey, man, this girl I'm kicking it with, man, she's super dope. And my boys can be like, man, yeah, you've been kicking it a lot with so-and-so, man. You spend a lot of time with her. I'm like, yeah, man, I like her. But then something might have happened in there to where it's just like, oh, you know what? We end up going our separate ways. We kind of stopped talking. We broke it off because it just didn't work anymore. Then I'll be like, yeah, me and that person dated. There's some rapport in there. And I feel like that's how probably some guys, or maybe even a lot of guys, kind of look at it from a dating standpoint. They kind of look at it from that viewpoint. It's like we got a little bit of time in and some special time and not just, sexual stuff. So I want to know from y'all, what do y'all consider dating, men and women? Is dating just going outside with somebody and you paid for a date? Does dating also have to involve a little bit of intercourse, a little bit of that nasty, a little bit of that tatua? Does dating also have to be time spent, not like a day or two, like, yo, we've been kicking it for a few months now? That's dating. So what's the definition of dating nowadays? Because there's a lot of confusion. Now, before I end this show off, I got to talk about before I end this show off, I got to talk about some anime. If you know me, if you've been following me for years, you know I'm an anime head. Let me tell you something. Demon Slayer, Demon Slayer, the training arc just ended. The last episode is over. And damn it, let me tell you something. They did what they were supposed to do. You talk about an arc that I was not looking forward to, because when I read it, I was like, I guess. Like, it was a necessary arc to have in the manga because you need to show them training before they get to the Infinity Castle arc and fight the demons. But dog, they turned this in, specifically this last episode, because to me this last episode was probably one of the best episodes in all of Demon Slayer so far. Not the best, but it's up there. It's probably a top 5 episode out of all the Demon Slayer episodes so far. They did this justice. If you haven't watched this last episode of Demon Slayer this season, I encourage you to watch it. Ufotable is the animating studio for Demon Slayer, and damn it, they probably do the best work in all of anime right now. Spoilers ahead. If you need to get out of here, I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, get your whole ass up out of here. When Muzan was talking to the head of the Demon Corps and that explosion happened, the visual of that explosion was perfection. Like the slow-mo, when the explosion was going in slow motion, you saw, like, it was snowing, so you saw some of the snowflakes start to melt. It was beautiful. This man sacrificed his children and his lady to do what he had to do to Muzan just to have a little bit of effect in slowing this man down. Even the animation when he kind of had to, like, reconstruct himself, Muzan, like, afterwards, it kind of gave you, like, Attack on Titan vibes, which is super dope. You had the pillars pull up to the mansion, and then you had to stone Hashira for the first time. I got to see him get active. I'm so excited for y'all to see this man go to work, dog. You got to see a glimpse of it. He was no joke. You saw the fear in Muzan's eyes when he pulled up, like, oh, this nigga the real deal. I don't know about everybody else, but this dude right here, he's going to be a problem for me. Stone Hashira just knocked his head off. Now, they already said that, hey, cutting off Muzan's head ain't going to work. If you saw the episode, it's not a spoiler for the episode, but essentially, they're going to have to keep Muzan out there to fight until the sun rises, because that's how strong he is. That's not me giving something away. That's what literally the leader of the Demon Corps said. His head can't be cut off. Y'all going to have to keep this man out until the sun rises. Then when they all pull up and Muzan gets that smile, and then boom, you hear that little tap from the upper moon. I think it's upper moon 4 or whatever. And then they all fall into the Infinity Castle. The animation of the Infinity Castle was beautiful. Like, it's some of the best animation you'll ever see. You see them all falling through, and they're all about to fall into their respective fights, essentially, right? You see the stone pillar, he's falling through. The wind pillar, everybody, the water pillar and Tanjiro kind of like falling together. You see Inosuke, he's over there eating, having a good time. He falls through. And then you see my guy, right? You see him right here? You see this dude right here? If you watching the YouTube video, I'm pointing to Zenitsu, right? Because I got a Zenitsu kind of poster in the background. You see him falling. And we all know he's a crybaby. He's a little hoe-ass nigga throughout the show. He's falling head first, grabs his sword, and just like, the look on his face is like, I'm about to kill somebody. I'm not playing no more games. Ain't no more crying. I'm about to smoke somebody out. And somebody who's read the manga, I know what's about to happen. I'm excited. I'm so excited. But let me tell you something. This nigga Zenitsu about to get busy, dog. I'm excited for y'all to see him get down too, because he's had moments, but he's about to have a moment that I think will go viral. Possibly. You know, I think there's going to, honestly, when this movie comes out, because it's breaking down into 3 movies for the Infinity Castle arc. So in that alone, the 3 movies, first thing I got to say about that is I think they're all going to break records. I think every single movie is going to break the previous record of the other one, because of how these fights are going to be lined up. Is literally a build up to the next one, to the last fight, essentially. And I honestly think that each movie, when it comes out, is going to break the internet. Like, Demon Slayer is one of those few animes that has broken the internet since season 1. Like, season 1, I remember when he fought I think it was Rui, and he cut off his head with like only a quarter of the sword or whatever it was, and it flamed up or whatever. That was kind of like the first time we saw the internet break over Demon Slayer. And when this movie drops, y'all gonna see it again. That's a guarantee. You can come back to this episode and y'all can see it. So I want to know from y'all, what did y'all think of season 4 of Demon Slayer, the Hashira arc? So I want to know from y'all, what did y'all think of season 4 of Demon Slayer, the Hashira training arc? What do y'all rated out of a 9,000? If you watch my Anime Shun podcast, that's how we used to rate things, out of a 9,000. I want to know how y'all rank this arc, because I came in with low expectations. I got to give this arc a 7,700 out of a 9,000. If I'm ranking that last episode, I'm giving that last episode a strong 8,000 though. I've already went back multiple times and watched clips from that episode. And I also want to know from y'all, what animes are y'all watching right now? Like, put me on some stuff, because I've been watching a couple of things and I'm not super impressed. You know, nothing's kind of giving me that rise like a Demon Slayer, like a Jujutsu Kaisen. So I want to know what y'all watching and would it be kind of on that level that you think I would like. Now, I'm mainly an action guy, right? But if you give me something that's kind of like a as good as a Death Note or something like that, right? Because Death Note is probably in my top 5. If you can give me something that kind of has that kind of feel too, and it's not action, let me know in the comment section and I'll watch it. And I'll be reviewing anime on this show, probably even separately in general. So like, give me some different animes that I can possibly review a couple of episodes. And yeah, man, subscribe to my YouTube, Keenan Baker on every single thing. That's how you find Hey, I'm Just a Fan podcast. You should be able to type in the Hey, I'm Just a Fan podcast also on YouTube. You should be able to find it on there. Yeah, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Hey, I'm Just a Fan.